Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SAG-AFTRA Foundation special screening of Brave, New Jersey. What did you think of the movie? Isn't it just delightful? It's not like what you hear what the plot's going to be. You think, oh my God, it's going to be like a real drama with guns and everything. It's not like that at all. It's a sweet movie. It's charming. It's delightful. It's wonderful. And we have a very full house to talk about this movie here today at SAG-AFTRA headquarters here at 5757 Wilshire Boulevard in Miracle Mile. Let's bring out, starting with the back row, co-writer Mike Dowling. Matt Oberg. Leonard Earl Howze. We got the co-writer and director of Brave, New Jersey, Jody Lambert. Tony Hale. Anna Camp. And Dan Bakkedahl. Wow, this is the biggest panel I've moderated here yet at SAG-AFTRA Foundation. This is a fun movie, and we're gonna have a great time. And I just really want to start with you guys. Like after what is it, 80 years almost. That a story about the reaction to that 1938 broadcast on Halloween has never been done, really. Like, why not? And why did you feel like not only was it the right time to do it, but for the tone that you did it with, to make it more of a comedy instead of a straight-ahead drama? Why this tone?
Well, they had made a few, TV movies over the years, and they always focused on Orson Welles, or at least kind of half focused on Orson Welles in the studio making the broadcast. And Mike and that's Mike back there. Mike and I talked about the kind of legend of the War of the Worlds broadcast, and the reaction that people thought it was real, and we thought that's really the story more than Orson Welles was the reactions of people that thought Martians were coming and thought that they had one night to live. And we just thought that's such a beautiful kind of, story and a great world to try to make a comedy rather than sort of a science fiction horror movie, kind of a touching story about people who live their fullest life over the course of one night. So yeah, how do you feel?
I feel good.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think that it wasn't so much sort of the history of the broadcasting, that we just felt that was the catalyst to tell a story about people who were told, hey, this is your last night on Earth, like, what are you going to do? And there's a very limited time frame for when they have to deal with it, which is a great dramatic device, I think, for Jody and I to play with. So it wasn't so much the history of the broadcast itself, but just what did that kick off with this great group of characters.
Well, you do have a great group of characters. I mean, everyone is so dynamic. It's a full cast of fully realized characters. So like when you first read the script, like, what was the first thing that you thought of, Matt and Leonard?
I appreciate you coming to me first on this.
What's so funny?
I feel he was going to say something.
I've known Jody and Mike a long time, so when I first, even before I read the script, I knew I had to do it. And I said to Jody, please, if you can find someone better for this part, do it. And he couldn't. But so here I am in the back row. But honored to be here. No, I thought it was such a great idea. It's one of those ideas where you're like, how come no one has done this before? And the part that I got to play Charlie was so great. And as I've said before, the neckerchief does most of the work for me. So I was just happy to come along for the ride.
See, this is why I went to you first. I mean,
Matt
really.
is bringing his best bits tonight, everybody.
And by the way, I'm done. That's it. I have nothing left. Yeah. Thank you.
Leonard.
First off, I was just glad to have an audition. You know, they called, they said, hey, we got something for you to go in on. And I was like, all right. And I checked my email, and I read the script. And I was like, oh, wow, I really like this. Okay, I really like this character, you know. And then, you know, you get that call that says, hey, you get a call back with the director and the producer. And then we got to go in and play. And it was a great day. It was a fabulous day. And Erica was there that day, and she came out and gave me a hug before I went in. And I felt like there was just a transfer of energy. And having her by my side, you know, she not only in the acting process, but also I feel for Stan, she kind of is his rock, his backbone, and helps to push him along. So we had a good time. We had a good time with them. I was glad to be a part of. Glad they said yes to me.
You know, I have to say, Ada, your character goes through a remarkable transformation. Like remarkable. Like she's like picking up a shotgun by the end of the movie. Like what was it like to just sort of play a character that goes through such a huge arc? I mean, that's like an actor's dream, really, to have that kind of happen.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It was, you know, the main reason that I wanted to do the movie, besides the fact that I had heard Matt Oberg was cast. So I definitely had to be a part of it. No, seriously, it's I always like playing characters that you see them as one way early on in a film or a TV show, whatever it may be, and then they go through a huge change and you're completely surprised by them. I was surprised by Peg as I was reading the script, and then had a wonderful meeting with Jody, and you know, we discovered more things. We had a great rehearsal process, actually. Matt and I got to do some scene work before we actually went to Tennessee to shoot, which was also very cool. But yeah, I love Peg. I'm so happy I got to play her. It was great.
Yeah, there's something about just the end of the world that just really brings out the best in people, you know. And Dan, I mean, you're. I'm just gonna say, Dan, go with the sort of transformation that your character goes through, especially because he's already had. I feel like he starts the film already just sort of having a crisis of faith. And that crisis gets bigger and much more dramatic as the film progresses.
Yeah, it's not worth talking about what could have been, I don't think, but there was a part of this film where Ray actually had lost a hand. And in the original script, he had a wooden hand. Because at one point he had lost his flock, and so he burnt his hand to be like, the stigmata! And they all went, oh my God, and he got him back. And then he lost his hand, and he went, oh, I see, I'm screwed, so forget it. So throughout the film, Ray was going to be running around, he'd lose a thumb, and he'd lose a thumb, and then he'd lose a pinky, and then he'd lose something, so he's running around like this for a little while, and then at the end, he's running around with just the thumb or something. I can't remember what it was, but it would be like, up the hill with the wooden thumb. And that was the thing that when I read it, I went, wow, this guy goes through. There were flashbacks where you see his old transformation into who he currently was, and then he gets to become somebody else by the end of it. I don't remember how it ends because we didn't watch the end here today, and I've been drinking. But I do remember that something changes, and in the end, he seems to kind of have his faith back. And I find these kinds of stories, it's a work of fiction. You know, this doesn't happen in real life. We don't get to change and become somebody fantastic. We just stay the same miserable son of a bitch we always were.
Here. So true.
I knew at least 6 people would agree with that.
At the heart of this movie, at the center of this
I think
film.
you said smoothie.
Did you eat dinner before? Maybe that's why you thought I said smoothie. But Tony Hale, I mean, the mayor is the heart of the film. He really is. I mean,
I just want. Thank you.
yeah, he is. Come on.
I just want to point out. Have you all noticed the gray shirts that are happening right here, and the blue pants?
They're gonna sing in 3-part harmony later.
Yeah.
Who wore it best?
Well, it was. I The whole idea of kind of I was drawn to the fact they had one day and what were they going to do, and he was a really defeated guy, and he finally got the courage up to speak to Lorraine. But I was also attracted to kind of just the mass hysteria. They only had one form of communication, and they heard a tidbit of something and then just went apeshit. You know? And nowadays, what's crazy is nowadays we still have that hysteria, and we can actually check if it's true. But we still have that hysteria, and it's like they didn't have anything, and they just had that one radio, and then everybody turned it off and just went crazy. And it was the child that was like, I don't think this is true.
Why? Why did everybody go crazy? They didn't even like think to check. You know, they didn't. Have the means, but still, they went crazy.
Yeah, we went crazy, but also I love the whole aspect of just kind of like feeding off of each other. You know, like especially Anna's character that's just like, you know what? I know what it is. And she's like, they're watching us. You know, it's just like this kind of crazy like mind games. And so that was really fun to kind of dig into. And I will say the cool thing about this was an independent film that we shot in Tennessee. It was so hot. We were just staying at this hotel that was not that lovely. And but was it the La Quinta?
It was the La Quinta, which is Spanish for bed bugs. Look it up. Bet you won't.
But the thing that I appreciated so much is, you know, you do these things and you say the script is really fun and you don't know how it's gonna be, and like Jody and Taylor and Mike and all the producers and stuff and Jen, they really made it this kind of community. They made it to where it felt like just this family experience. And I'm telling you, that's what, I mean, granted, I love doing the work, but I just so appreciate that because many times it's not always the case. You have like ego and all that crap, but it's like they just created this environment. With independent film, that is the key. And I really appreciated that.
Well, I certainly felt like this when I saw the movie at the Sun Valley Film Festival for the first time and watched it again last night, is you feel the chemistry of this cast, and that chemistry is infectious. I mean, I see a lot of heads shaking. I mean, it really is. So, I mean, you talked a little bit about rehearsal. I mean, how much time did you all have together to sort of build up that dynamic where the chemistry just leaped off the screen like that? Let's go back to you.
Thank you. Not a ton, because you know, there's not enough money to like get everybody together for a long time. But correct me if I'm wrong, there was a table read that we all that Tony wasn't at.
That's actually incorrect. There was never a table read, Matt.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
That's another
You
show.
were the only
you
one
were
at that
doing.
table read.
We never had a table read.
You had a table
with this
read
No, I-
in your
group of
living room
actors.
by yourself.
I was thinking
Table
of
read
Hunt for
of
Red
one.
October.
That's where the
You
nectar
read
chip
everybody's
came in.
part. You read like everyone's role, and it was amazing.
We all had a nice dinner without you, but it wasn't a table read. Yeah.
That's the table read.
Leave him alone. Let him finish.
Leonard, what do you think about the chemistry of the cast? How did that come together?
Well, when we showed up, Dan and I showed up, it was actually two different sections. So we all kind of just met each other in passing
In the lobby.
in the lobby of the hotel because we were together in the church
Right.
all the time, and they were out in the field. But that was the thing, though. The community still formed. When we closed out our last night of filming, was it the mayor of the town that came and gave us a big barbecue send-off? One of the
I was
awesome
not
things-
there. I wasn't there.
You had to
No
go.
memory.
You had to rush off. But and most of the sets that you see were on just a couple of acres of land. I think that was one of the great finds that they had, was that you had these pieces that took you back in time. The folks of Tennessee that were there, there was a nuance that they brought as our background actors that transplanted you back to that time period. There was just a way of life that happened there, and an honesty that I really feel came forth in the film. And there was one other thing you said about why the hysteria. Because that was the only form of communication. That was how you got your news, and so that's all you had. And so if they're saying that this is true, you run with it.
You know, the brilliance of Orson Welles on that night. with the Mercury Theater, the way that he did this show, the way he utilized radio to make it feel so real, just made you really see just how brilliant this guy was. And he was in his early 20s. It was 3 years before Citizen Kane. But had you gone back to sort of like listen to that broadcast to sort of, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, no, I had never heard it before, and Jody gave us all copies of it and sent it to us, and it's really brutal. Did you not, Matt? What's going on with you, man?
Matt, I feel bad, man.
How much did you get paid?
Hey.
No, sorry. No, you got that broadcast. You did. Okay. It was really brutal though. There were people screaming and it sounded so real that, I was really shaken by it now. So imagining back in the time when you've never heard anything like that and there's no reason why it wouldn't be true, it was really, an intense thing to hear.
Especially people didn't hear the beginning where they were announcing that this is a radio show. They tuned in like just 3 minutes later and all hell broke loose.
Well, is it true? I was going to go ahead.
Well, there's one little piece of trivia about the broadcast is that actually the Charlie McCarthy Edgar Bergen ventriloquist hour, which I don't even know what that means on the radio, but was show, and it was the most popular show at that time. And they think that because when they went to their first commercial, that's when most people would have changed the channel or changed the dial and tuned into the War of the Worlds broadcast, and they would have missed the intro and just come in at almost the scariest part. And that was like one little piece of trivia about the broadcast that we tried to make work in the movie, and there wasn't really enough room, but it's kind of an interesting kind of tidbit of why maybe it escalated the way it did.
And there also, if I may bore you with Orson Welles' history further, there also was, there are people who think that Welles did not expect that to happen. He was not thinking that was going to cause people to actually think that, because they say in the beginning, this is a Mercury Theater broadcast of this. So obviously he wasn't trying to fool people. But he was such a showman and a trickster after all this press happened, and there was these pockets, and there were only pockets of hysteria throughout the country. He capitalized on that afterwards, being like, oh yes, maybe I did try to fool people. I don't know. It's up to you to decide. He kind of used it as like a marketing tool.
Dead on impression, first of all.
Thank you. Was it good? I worked on it. So there wasn't a ton of hysteria throughout the country. Most people listened to it and said, this sounds kind of crazy. But we wanted to create a place where people just surrendered to it and decided to accept it as real. But Welles used it for his own devices afterward too. I think to good use. Another
useless bit of Orson Welles trivia. So RKO wanted him to do War of the Worlds as his first feature. And then there was also some talk that he would do Heart of Darkness. And then he decided, no, he wanted to do a story called American, which was Citizen Kane, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, the other thing I thought about watching this film is I'm a big Twilight Zone fan. And there's a great episode from the first season called The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. And, right? Yes. All right, Twilight Zone fans, this is a great crowd. But I think it's your character. Sometimes there's a spy. Who is it? Had you seen that episode? Do you even know that episode existed when you were?
Yes, I studied it very, very. No, unfortunately, no, I didn't. But I do love the Twilight Zone. I'll check it out.
It's on Netflix.
Okay, great.
Season 1. It's really good. But how much were you guys inspired by that episode while writing the screenplay?
I think we saw it. I don't think we particularly were influenced. I mean, tonally, it's kind of. This is sort of the comedic version of that. But yeah, it sort of escalates and into a frenzy, and that thread I think exists in the movie. Sure.
You talk about the medium of radio being the only form of communication. Obviously, now it's not. So the question is, do you think that, given the right circumstances, that something like this hysteria could happen?
Oh God. Are we going to act like it didn't happen?
No, No, it's not like the moon landing.
My God, it happened.
It's not like the moon landing.
It's pretty fucking close, pardon my French. Except we already lived on the moon, and then someone landed on it. That's what happened. No, all I'm thinking the whole time we're sitting here talking is like, are we not noticing? This is almost exactly what happened. It's like if I say it enough times, you'll believe it, particularly if you already want to believe it. And these people, the town is called Lullaby. These people are all living boring, sad, well, slow anyway, lives. And they want some excitement. And here comes excitement. My God, please let me have some of this excitement. And this is a question I had. I keep doing this to you, Anna. I'm sorry.
Did you have barbecue potato chips?
No, I had tacos.
Oh, that's what that is.
If Collins, and I only realize this now having seen it twice and having been in it, but if Collins already knew, why did he freak the fuck out? Like, why did he do that? Because he wanted excitement?
Yeah, you guys. Well, I think
I want to know what you think.
He wanted to shake that town out of their quiet, small lives.
I think that's what my brother did last November.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Well, the other thing I was going to say about Collins, I was hoping that Barry would be here, is that here's a guy who lost his identity, and then he got it back. Like, he really seized the opportunity to take charge. Not the first time anyone craving power really wanted that to happen. I mean, it happened around the same time to someone on a much bigger scale. But what is it about seizing the opportunity, like a really bad opportunity for everyone else to take charge? I feel like there was that's timely even for now. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we think of him as kind of an evil presence, though. I think it's more like the Wizard of Oz, kind of pulling the strings and kind of getting the lay of the land of what these people need and doing it for, obviously it could have gone horribly, but I think, we weren't making that kind of movie. I think it's more of a fairy tale in the sense that he kind of saw what these people needed and pulled these things out of them. I think when he says, imagine you have one night to live. I mean, that's kind of his
or when he
thesis.
says to Tony, I expect more from you tonight, Mr. Mayor. Like, I want you to friggin', grow a pair and do something. Sorry. I think it's a good way to put it. Like, he's more like Wizard of Oz. Like, hey, I know what everybody needs. I'm just going to shake stuff up and see what happens.
Well, Tony, talk about your relationship with Heather Burns in the film. I mean, at the center of all this craziness, there's this really beautiful love story going on at the same time, and your chemistry is really palpable.
Oh, thanks. I don't know how to answer that. I just put off great chemistry. Well, I mean, with Heather, I think it's I loved that it started off taboo, and she was married to just this asshole, and I loved there was also little things of like her giving me Gone with the Wind. No, was it Gone with the Wind? Yes. No, I giving her Gone with the Wind. I don't know, just kind of this sprinkles of this relationship and me seeing her relationship being frustrated and then this happening. And I think actually all of it, the funnest turn for me with that was when he drove off and she's left with the family, and then we have this intense moment, and then he comes back and she goes back to him. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? It was nice to have, because he's kind of a defeated, obviously, mayor, and to have that moment of kind of like, finally he at least was able to say, what are you doing? And kind of bring the reality out. And so that was kind of nice to get to that, because before he just kind of shut up and was just frustrated that she was with this guy.
Now, in terms of how fast did you shoot this movie?
I think it was 25 days.
25 days, wow. What were the challenges to sort of like maintain the balance, really, with all the characters having it wasn't like uneven. It was a really film.
It was rough. It was a hard shoot, but it was fun, and everybody was so prepared. And The crew was great, and we did have a little bit of rehearsal time, which helped. But I think it was just everybody, the cast just came like kind of ready to go. And so, what you want in those situations is to be able to just have as many options as you can and do as many takes. You can try to steer people towards something else and not have to just blast through, every setup. And a lot of that is the crew just working really hard to give us the time to, once the camera's set up, to be able to kind of take a little bit of time within each setup. And so it was even though it was very fast, it didn't feel like frenetic and sort of chaotic in ways that I think.
And you haven't broken down kind of how you found the place either. That was so unique.
Yeah, so we shot it in Tennessee. Our producer Taylor, who's somewhere out here in the back, his mother grew up in this area of Tennessee where that Main Street town that we use in the movie, which essentially is abandoned and kind of exactly what you see. We put up some signage, but that is the town. And we went down there and realized that we could shoot that part of the movie there, and we started to look around, and we just got very lucky. We found this guy who had, like Leonard was saying, brought all of these period buildings, and he had a church and a schoolhouse and these cabins and all these things that he brought to this kind of farm that you could just pay like $8 to walk around and check it out. And so we found this, and it had everything we needed, including, a holding area and a cafeteria and all this crazy stuff. It was like it was built for this movie. And I don't think we would have been able to.
There was a cafeteria?
And yeah, I don't think we could have made the movie anywhere else. We've showed it a couple times in New Jersey. They were not too thrilled that we shot it in Tennessee, but the Tennessee people weren't too happy that we were making a movie about New Jersey people either.
Please anybody.
Yeah, so no, I think it worked out, but it was a real, like a real lucky situation that we got.
You mentioned that you were like sort of wanted to steer the cast to do different things, so that meant freedom to sort of go off script and improvise and just play off each other. I mean, did you have a lot of chance to do that?
I mean, the script is so well written that no, I'm joking. You'd have to talk to these
Well,
guys.
I will
but
say there were what I appreciated. There was moments where you were kind of like, something's not working, and it's just kind of not jiving. And they gave the freedom to say, hey, let's find it. Let's find the rhythm. And Heather and I was just, it was just so fantastic to work with her, but just to kind of find that dance. And then they gave us the time to do that. So they trusted instincts.
Yeah, we had a lot of rehearsal time, at least I did, for the church, like the sermon scenes. And then when we got there, the tone of them, we kind of flew with it as we went and went, wait a minute, maybe this works a little better in this moment. Maybe this is a better tone. Maybe this is a better approach. And in most films, I don't know, I've never even had rehearsal for a film, let alone extensive rehearsal, and then come in and have an opportunity to play with it in that way. It wasn't necessarily the words as much as it was sometimes the approach, the feeling, the well said. And also, we had to go. There was a lot of thunder and lightning. I mean, on the night that we shot the scene where I do the big, evangelical sermon, thunder and lightning like crazy. We had to turn everything off and wait for thunder and lightning to stop, and like just sit there. And Jody's dad came in and played music for us, and it was
your dad
nuts.
did the score. Yeah.
yeah, he did the score with these two guys from a band called Delta Spirit. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. We kind of, it was another one we got real lucky. I mean, these. Well, my dad's a great musician, and these guys in this band are too, but they'd never really done a movie score before. We just kind of thought they could do it, and we had listened to their music while we were prepping the movie and kind of used some of their songs as like the temp score. And I was talking to my dad and Taylor, and we said we should get somebody that feels like Delta Spirit, and they're like, well, why don't we just go to Delta Spirit, and so we called them up and they said, yeah, let's do it. And I think the score, we didn't want the score to have that kind of Woody Allen like 30s jazz sound. We just wanted this kind of, sci-fi folk kind of acoustic vibe, and I think they just really brought it to life. And Tony sings the theme song at the end.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Do you know what I also wanted to, I don't know why I just thought about this. There was also these, just to get off me singing the song, there was also, in those houses that we were shooting in, there were these massive snakes. And I have this video that someone showed me on the wall, this snake, this massive snake just crawling up. It was terrifying. And what's crazy is our DP, I just blanked on his name. Corey. He's like, you know what, I don't want to stay at the hotel. I'm going to stay at the houses. So he would sleep at night with these anacondas, like going up the wall. Isn't that crazy? That's the one story I remember.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Did you have one too, or was it just you, Tony? Did you have snakes in your place?
Oh no, I stayed at the La Quinta. So, I mean, I didn't see any snakes. But there was a dangerous moment though. I remember that the shot made it into the movie when we were doing the battle scene. There's a firecracker that went off like right in my eye. Like I remember that and I go, I'm not doing that again. I was like, that's the take, and it's in there. And I'm very proud of that.
I remember
May I?
that night
going.
shoot at like whatever it was, 4 a.m. There were extras from Green Frog or the town, and there was an older woman who, there were guns, there were like real guns, and she was in her 80s and really tired, and she sat down in like the little holding area of the field and was like waving this gun around and just being like, I can't do this anymore. And some other like background person was like, Miss Clarkson, can I please just take that gun from you? She's like, oh yeah, sure, sweetie. So that was a real moment of danger as well.
I kind of remember that moment.
We all
I do.
survived.
Yeah.
May I tell a fun anecdote?
Please.
So we're riding in the van one morning very early. A bunch of the cast was in there, and Sam, who decided not to join us, I guess. Sam Yeager was very quiet, and we were riding along. We pulled up to this town where, like, you see Tony walking up, where there's the bustle of the morning, and I'm sorry, no, it was the general store. And we saw this whole store dressed and pulled in, and Sam said, we feel like this is great. It feels like a theater company. And I always remember that moment. He said, like, because it did feel like it. Like, you guys were all looking at your scripts in the morning, and we kind of pulled in, and everyone like got out and they ran lines. And I just remember that moment very specific. Like, yeah, it kind of does feel like a theater company, which you don't get on film sets all the time. And we all kind of got out, and but it was I think that was like what Tony spoke to about the sort of fellow feeling of what could have been a nightmarish shoot with the La Quinta and the snakes and the bacteria or whatever else. But yeah, I think that really that it was very, very proud of everyone working so well together.
Again, that goes back to you could see that, but in making the film and watching the film especially, you think, what if this really was my last night on Earth? How would you spend it? Let's start with you, Leonard. How would you, if you knew last night on Earth, all bets are off, what would you be doing?
I'm with family. Yeah, I'm with family. That's thank you.
Good answer.
That's my heart.
I would also be with Leonard's family, I think.
That's exactly what I was gonna. He stole my bit.
Yeah,
I
right.
would wait till Matt leaves, then I would go in with Leonard's family. They're
I hate
lovely.
to ask everybody else, but
Because they know it's going to be some good food there. That's right.
I would ask Leonard's family to leave so I could have Leonard all to myself.
I wouldn't care about Leonard's family. I'd be with my family. And my wife is here tonight. No.
I would be with my family as well, and my dog, and I would probably drink a lot of wine.
It's turning so dark.
I know. And then I would call Leonard's family. I wouldn't say I needed to see them. I would just say, I hope you guys are well, and that you're enjoying your last night. You're next.
don't say it, Dan. Don't say it.
I'd spend it fucking. Well, I mean, what are we? This is a bunch of bull. You guys are lying tonight. You're all lying. We'd all be fucking. We'd all be. If we were here and they said this is it, we'd all be fucking.
So true.
All of us. Don't lie.
Well,
No rules. End of the world. Me and you, Tony.
Yes.
well, change only comes when you make bold leaps forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Brave New Jersey opens in select theaters on August 4th. It's also on demand on August 4th. So please help Brave New World. Please spread the word on social media.
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
He's got all
Brave
this
New
money
Jersey.
already. Fuck that guy.
Brave New Jersey.
Like, you see, that's where you took the title. Yes, Brave New Jersey. Spread the word, social media. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.